Hi, I'm Al Cobb with SIP School, and I'm here with Jonathan Early. Jonathan is the CEO of Sealants and the provider, manufacturer to the SIP industry with all the products known as SIP Seal. So thanks for being here, Jonathan.
Thanks, Al.
I want to have a conversation about energy efficiency structures and how they act, as well as why we need to seal them up and where your products are best utilized. Does it sound like something we could cover from a 30,000-foot view?
Yeah, let's do it.
So making something airtight is very important, but things have to be considered in the context that when they're made very airtight, they have a lower capacity to dry. And that's one of the things you hear me talk about a lot when I'm training SIP installers and talking to the various folks within the industry, and that is to say, make something airtight, but also give it a way to dry out, so when water gets in, it can dry out. And the permeability and the perm ratings of your products is very important, because look what happens when water goes in and gets trapped.
That's right. You got mold, you've got deterioration of the structural integrity of the product,
right,
and all kinds of health concerns, and it's just a bad thing.
All right, let's talk about the technology and some of the history behind these products.
Sure. So this is a polyether-based sealant and adhesive. And this technology goes back over 30 years. It was developed in Japan, and it was really designed to replace silicone.
Okay.
And we really found that it replaces polyurethanes as well. It has really the attributes of each of those other families of products without the downsides of either.
Right.
So in other words, it works with a very wide range of substrates, as we talked about.
Right.
It bonds very, very well. It works in all temperatures. So, I mean, you know, you can throw a sausage in a snowbank and come back in the morning and use it.
You would know that about that in Minnesota,
I know about that up in Minnesota. It stays flexible once it's cured. It does not react to temperature. In other words, get stiffer when it gets cold and get really runny when it gets hot.
Right.
And it's environmentally compliant. So it doesn't have any solvents in it. It has no harmful chemicals.
Right.
It doesn't off-gas isocyanates. It doesn't, like silicone, doesn't have oils that leach into the substrate.
Here at the SIP School, we've got every kind of product that has been introduced into the SIP industry.
Right, so
you're dealing with phenolic fiberglass?
Phenolic type skins, MgO, magnesium oxide. This happens to be a polyurethane core, you know.
Right, with a drywall skin and an OSB skin on the other side.
Yep.
Bond to anything we want there.
Bonds to anything we want here.
The ubiquitous OSB skin.
OSB, yep.
Back to another type of MgO, a magnesium oxide panel that's uses a little bit thinner skin.
Yeah, and I think you also want to, you know, that these products work with all the other things that are used in construction.
Sure.
PVCs, ABCs, metal, painted metal. You know, the list goes on. It's a very, very versatile product.
Well, as somebody who's used it, taught people how to use it, been in the field in all weather conditions, and see how it performs, I can attest to the fact that you've really hit a home run. Let's go through the various family of products that you have here and talk about them briefly.
Briefly, we have an adhesive sealant, all-purpose product that is, you know, a sealant as well as a very good adhesive. And
enough sealant that it still works perfectly well in all SIP systems or SIP joints.
It still maintains its flexibility, but you know, if you need something that's going to take, you know, a high movement in a joint, then we have a product called a joint sealant, which still adheres really, really well, but
it does.
It's just not as strong.
So if I'm building on the fault line and my house is going to shake a lot, I might want to go with a little more elongation.
Something, exactly. All right, and then we have a fast cure adhesive, and this adhesive is used for panel assemblies within a shop, any kind of prefabrication, off-site type manufacturing, as well as you know, hanging stone on walls and wall paneling and you know, that sort of type of thing.
So those are all of the caulkable sealants, or you might call them mastics. There's a number of terms that we could use, but they're really caulkable sealants.
Right, and then we have, you know, for the SIPs industry, we have our whole family of tapes. It's a vapor tape that's designed, you know, as a joint tape.
Right.
To be your belts and suspender.
Exactly. The vapor tape is used as a vapor barrier. Compliance with the code tells us where we're going to install it, but it really goes over the joint, and it gives you another layer of sealing in critical areas where we are concerned that either we have a very difficult joint or we might have some movement that might create some compromise the joint integrity, and this just becomes another layer of sealing. But we also have, what you've brought to the table now, is a liquid applied membrane. Tell us about it.
Well, we wanted a product that would work on the exterior of the building to keep bulk water out and still allow the building to breathe. So it's like a virtual living skin almost for the building. And the membrane is a roll-on or spray-on type product. And we have a liquid flashing product that's used for troweling around rough openings, window openings, and filling voids.
So now you've got the complete coverage that gives you a waterproof skin, as you say, on the outside of the building?
Yeah, we really want the building envelope without the siding to become the weather barrier.
Sure.
And that's what our products do.
Right, and it's still permeable.
Yes.
Which means it can dry out. And
that's right.
Incredibly important. And once all these products go on, how do you know you did it right? Well, in the SIP industry, and if you've ever heard me get on my soapbox, you know what I'm going to say, and that is we're going to test. And how do we test? We test with a blower door. Well, the blower door is, anybody who's ever worked in the high performance industry knows that we're basically pulling a vacuum on a house to determine how much air leakage is going to come through the assembly. And if we've applied all these materials correctly in the right way, in the right detailing, with the right attention to detail, then what you're going to have is a high performance house, because it's not going to leak air. And that air that's not leaking into a joint means it's not bringing moisture into the joint and not creating problems in the future, which means we now have a more durable structure. So I think what we really have is the complete solution for not just the SIP industry, but for any construction industry. We're talking about sealants, we're talking about adhesives, we're talking about keeping water out, keeping your structure at a level of high performance, and also keeping it dry. Thanks again, Jonathan. It was great for you to stop by.
Thanks, Al.